Most dating advice, most self help advice that you'll find in the mainstream and online is good and it's correct. And it should still be entirely ignored by the vast majority of people. Not because there's anything inaccurate about it or that it's bad, but because of the way that people engage with it. Let's say, for example, I spend 24 hours reading dating advice blogs or watching videos. At what point am I then going to apply what I've learned in the real world? Well, I would speculate that for most people, they never will apply that because the purpose of engaging with the content is not to actually learn anything, but to assuage the anxiety that's associated with not taking action in the same way that we watch pornography to avoid pursuing a genuine sexual experience in the three dimensional realm. We would watch a movie or a TV show to escape from, I'm exaggerating slightly, but let's say to escape from the lack of excitement or adventure in our own lives. In a similar way, people who are aware of the gap between their ideal life and the life that they live will stuff that gap with the intermediary of advice videos. And the people who create these videos, perhaps a lot like me, are often unaware or even complicit in this fact because there's a demand for noble hiding places, refuges where people can congregate and talk about something which they have absolutely no direct experience of. It's a little bit like the guy who sits at the bar and knows everything about football, but would never put on a pair of boots and play a game. Or he would, but he would be making excuses and kind of puffed out after 5 minutes. There's a big difference between knowing about something and being able to do something. And it's not just about taking action, it's about creating this feedback system between knowledge and orientation and action. And if you want to learn more about this, just look up the OODA loop by John Boyd, OODA, where he talks about this critical step where you obtain some intelligence, some information, you then apply that information directly to the environment, and then in doing so, you find that you're in a different position. And a good way to tell if you're not really progressing in a field, whatever that is that you're consuming the same kind of information again and again and again. And it just kind of goes to show that whatever you're doing there is not working. Because if that information was having an impact, then you wouldn't need that information anymore. It would become redundant. And sure, this does happen to an extent with some people, I'm sure, but for a lot of people, myself included, it's like, I don't know how many times I've watched like versions of the same dating advice or versions of the same self help advice. There's obviously something is incomplete there. And it's this final stage, not final stage, it's a part of a cycle. Because let's say, for example, I am watching a video about flipping houses. I never flipped a house, but let's just say, for example, I'm trying to flip a house, right? So I look for advice in buying houses and doing them up. And then I sell that house. Hopefully, I make a profit. I'm not going to need that exact same step by step information again because I will have done it. Maybe I'll need to refresh it, but I'll be kind of onto a different set of challenges. And so, how quickly we're able to cycle through challenges in life is really an indication of how well we're learning. Because when you really master a problem, that problem ceases to exist. Like you won't think, oh, I remember having an issue with my muscle mass or whatever it is, because you will then have figured out how to solve that issue. And so you just won't think about it anymore. And so if you're constantly thinking and thinking and thinking about the same kind of problems again and again and again, it means that you're stuck. But the problem is this content is so addictive. And it's addictive because when you watch it or when you consume it, it's feeding you that same dopamine that comes from a false feeling of progress. And I say false because if you're not actually applying what you've learned, then obviously that progress is counterfeit and you're just turning into that sports guy who can't kick a ball. Let's say, for example, going back to the beginning, I wanted to improve my dating life. Which do you think would be more useful to spend 100 hours watching dating advice videos, red pill, black pill, blue pill, white pill, whatever your flavor of choice, or to spend 100 hours socializing and socializing with your preferred gender? There's the same amount of time, but I would say that one gives you like a very, very low chance of actually progressing, and one gives you a much higher chance. Now, of course, the size of those chances is going to depend on a whole number of variables. But the fact remains that for the vast majority of people, it's a lot better to derive your experience from the real world, from real world feedback. And yet, I believe we live in a time where sadly, a lot of people don't do this. And a lot of people will profit from the fact that people don't do this because content creators don't really have to take responsibility for the lives of the people that they're influencing. If your dad came to you and said, hey, this is how you talk to a woman, and you're going to go out, and pretty quickly he's going to see whether you're doing what he told you to, and he's kind of invested in your success. But I'm not invested in your success, neither is any of the other people that you watch on YouTube. You literally have no way of even knowing how your life's going. And so, although I wish the best for you, and I'm sure that everybody um, that you follow does, we're not interdependent with you. And so, to a certain extent, whatever I say doesn't really matter to me. And I feel kind of bad about that, honestly. And I just try my best to be honest about what I think. And I don't know if you agree with what I'm saying or not, but if you do, just let me know. And maybe like some of the ways that you get around this issue. I feel that it's a psychological issue and it's a bit of a blind spot within the creator's space. So maybe there are certain pieces of advice or content that you have taken to heart and you started to apply them in your life. But are there also areas where you find yourself consuming the same kind of information month in, month out, year in, year out? And what does that say about your own progress in that area? Drop a comment down below and let's have a chat. Thanks for your time.